There is no doubt I love sports. In fact, most of the social media posts on my timelines and my different accounts have something to do with sports. I spent the majority of 2020 not talking about politics, but sports because I think that brings us all together. However, as you can tell by the title of this video essay, there is an issue that has been going on for such a long time. Hero worship has destroyed sports. And I say this because I believe that is the truth. How many times that we have labeled a great player of the GOAT, the greatest of all time? It should be simply the greatest athlete of this generation. But GOAT is more simple and gets the clicks, gets the viewership, has the comment section filled up with rabid sports fans to debate whether or not that player who plays for that team or teams is the greatest of them all. Let's go back. Let's go back. You know, I'm an older gentleman now, so I can go back to a time where it wasn't about the player, right? You can say Walt Frazier played for the New York Knicks. Jerry West played for the Los Angeles Lakers. Joe Montana played for the San Francisco 49ers. So we always equated that player with that team. And back then, it was always which team would you root for? Now, I grew up a Lakers fan. I'm still am a Lakers fan, but I grew up mainly before the Showtime era, right? When Kareem was traded from Milwaukee to the Lakers. And so it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would play for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, of course, after years of going into the playoffs and losing, when the Lakers drafted Magic Johnson, that's when it all changed, right? Because Magic and Bird effectively saved the NBA. Now, the NBA before Magic and Bird was really not what it is today. For example, their games on CBS would be shown at 11:30 at night, and the sportscaster on our local affiliate at that time would tell you, if you don't want to see the score, turn your heads. And trust me, there are many a time when I turn my heads just to catch, not to catch the final score of the playoff game or the championship game. Now, the World Championship, they called it, not the NBA Finals, is what they called it back then. But there have been changes. There have been changes. There's a lot of great players who played with teams, and it was all about the teams. It wasn't about the player. Well, over time, I say around the 1990s, or yeah, you can say kind of the late 1980s, as Magic and Bird they were in their prime, playing for the Lakers and the Celtics. Michael Jordan started playing for the Chicago Bulls. Now, at first, it was just like the way I set it up, that Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls. Then over time, Nike, a shoe company, made an investment in him. So you had these commercials with Spike Lee as Morris Blackman touting Nike. And this is not the first time or I'm not advocating other than the fact that Converse was a shoe back then. And there were a lot of athletes like Isaiah Thomas, Kevin McHale, Magic has commercials on Converse. But what Nike did, Nike elevated Michael Jordan to the point where he was the end all be all of the NBA. And that the Bird and Magic both had their injuries and other issues with their health that eventually they left. So that meant Jordan was the only star out there that we know of. He was the only star, dominant star, that the media and everyone else focused on. And around the time he started winning championships and titles, everyone jumped on the Chicago Bulls bandwagon, which meant they weren't Chicago Bulls fans, they were Michael Jordan fans. And that's how all of this mess started. Now it was all about the player rather than the team he plays for. Except if you actually lived in Chicago, then that's a good sign. That's a good thing for you, because as a Chicago Bulls fan, you say, hey, Michael was our guy. And yes, other than that little brief time he played for the Wizards, he was still a Chicago Bulls guy. But Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. And therefore the hero worship began. I remember, I think around when the Lakers played the Bulls in the championship, I was in this laundromat and I was talking to someone who was obviously a Michael Jordan fan. I said, hey, I said something to her. She says, oh, you're not supportive of a black man, huh? I don't think you quite understood it. Magic was a black man. He is a black man. And it wasn't like Bird and Magic, but that's how I guess this fan, in quotes, treated it as. But fast forward to all these years later, you don't get this conversation about the best teams now. Now, as a Lakers fan, I love the fact that we're tied with the Celtics with the most championships in the NBA, which is 17 apiece. That conversation was never brought up a lot when LeBron Jordan, who the media for the past 19 years has somehow cultivated to be the heir apparent to Michael Jordan, won his 4th title out of 10 tries at the championship. By the way, Jordan went 6 for 6. Bill Russell, Bill Russell, who played for all those Celtics teams in the late 1950s and 60s, he should be called the GOAT, but they always make excuses why he's not. And Russell went 11 for 11. Or 11 for 12. But to go back to this point, we worship our athletes as if these are heroes and we're down with them. I have said some critical issues about LeBron, and before he became a Laker, guess what? Are you down on the black man? You down on this? You down on that? And there's no question, if you can separate the actual talent on the basketball court from what they do as a humanitarian aspect, that's what it should be all about. Instead, the way we have our hero worship media outlets today is that if you attack them for their performance on the court or on the field, you are attacking them as black men. I don't understand this. Truly, I don't understand this. Great players should always be criticized for not coming up short in their performance. It's okay to criticize them if they miss a free throw, if they don't win a contest, whatever. Magic had all kinds of things said about him. but he was still able to build his movie theater and other companies through his corporation and everything he did for the community. You can criticize that too, but Magic's performance on the court, you can criticize that because you don't have to be a fan of Magic Johnson. But he was still able to do some things in his community. It doesn't mean if you criticize his performance on the court that you're demeaning him as a black man trying to do something for his area, his people. It just means he had a bad game. What? We're going to call the great late Chick Hearn racist because you criticized Magic too. When he made a pass, he didn't connect with James Worthy, or when he threw the ball away at times. I mean, what? This is what I'm talking about. Hero worship, right? And especially us as black people, we take this a step too far sometimes. And we need to lower the temperature. We need to settle down and realize that if you're playing a bad game, you deserve to be criticized. If you're not living up to the standard of the greatest, you deserve to be criticized. But again, hero worship. We love to salute these players as if they're the greatest, and they're not. At least not of all time. This generation, this current generation, yes. Of all time, not so. But again, industries, websites, all these different sites and all these different platforms are built to do just that. Create the narratives about the player that we believe is the greatest of all time. And until we actually say, hey, wait a minute. They're not the greatest of all time. They're the greatest of this generation. That's where the discussion should be. Bill Russell was a great player of his generation. No doubt. The Boston Celtics were the team everyone looked up to beat. In fact, Bill Russell and the rest of the Boston Celtics defeated a Los Angeles Lakers team with Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Wilt Chamberlain, who arguably was one of the best centers in the league back then. Wilt was legendary, but in comparison to Russell, never quite could beat him. That to me is good enough for the greatest of all time in my book. And Russell's a Celtic. You think it's easy for me to say that? But facts are facts. Now, I know we want to say today, what if Bill Russell played in this generation? Well, forget that. It's the generation that the player played in and how great they were back in that generation. Just leave it at that and just say, okay, Michael Jordan was great in the present day generation. LeBron James is great in the present day generation. Everyone said how great Montana was with the Niners. And as a Rams fan, I hated the Niners. I still do. Cousins. But there's no doubt Montana earned his Super Bowl wins. Just like Tom Brady earns his Super Bowl wins. Playing with the Patriots and now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Judge the player on how great they're playing in their field of sport. Not because they're doing something for the community. That's separate. That's fine. They're doing something with their wealth that they should do. But as far as the performance on the court, don't say to me, Charles, you love demeaning black men. No, I love demeaning players who don't live up to the standard of being the quote unquote the greatest. I want to put that fact out there from now and forever. So, ladies and gentlemen, all you good folks out there, I know this is a different take than usual, but I had to say this. Let's get back to supporting our teams and the athletes who are part of those teams. Let's get back to supporting the athletes of this generation who are great. Let's stop using terms like GOAT, because each generation is different and each sport that the players play becomes different as far as training, rules, everything. Let's get off this nonsense. Let's just focus on the teams and the sports that we love the most. My name is Charles L. Chapman. My website is charleslchapman.com. Please visit that website. Take a look at all the different features there. You may scroll down to the Amazon page. You may buy my latest book, Storm of South Central. And on my website, click on the book section. We may buy a book of The Voices of South Central. So I just wanted to leave that with you. And I just wanted to say, hey, I'm not mad. ESPN, Fox Sports, if they want to continue this nonsense of the GOAT, that's on them. But those of us who are serious sports fans and understand, we totally leave that alone. So until next time, I want to wish each and every one of you a good day, a good evening, good week, good month. And until the next time, take care.